from just outside the perimeter and inside the perimeter of Atlanta, Georgia, where our burritos aren't cheap and that hill is getting steep.
I was going to say, and your pockets aren't so deep.
Could lay by the bay, make things out of clay.
Yeah, I just may.
Just may. What do you say? It is the 5 Takes podcast, and we are back.
We're back, baby.
Like dire wolves. Have you heard about this?
Hey,
so
I give it another week, and someone's going to make a dire schnoodle.
This company called Colossus has brought back an extinct wolf. This has big, they were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Think about whether or not they should.
Vibes
to it. Science people out there very upset about this characterization of this as bringing back an extinct species.
Because they really didn't.
Because they really didn't
do that. They just
it's essentially like cloning.
Things.
Yeah, they just kind of modified it and brought it back.
Yeah, and somewhere, some East African frogs have been managed to, simultaneously change sex in a
single sex environment.
Somewhere there's a
life found a way.
DNA cartoon asking, "Why are we doing this again? Did we not learn anything from Jurassic?"
We have not learned how to make dinosaurs.
Of course, the first thing they did is show you a puppy of it. They're like, "Oh."
Look how cute.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I guarantee you, somewhere on Craigslist, there's already a dire wolf puppies. Like
that's what I'm saying, and they're doodles. It's a dire doodle.
Already happening.
Yeah, they've been crossed with
a dire doodle.
In Atlanta, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and yes, so right, and in about 6 weeks from now, the Atlanta Humane Society will be filled with dire puppies because nobody can.
I'm wondering if we might want to give Colossus a call and see if they can do something with the team. Bring that back from extinction as well. We just need little tweaks to it, right?
Yeah, just, tweak the DNA here and there because God knows we've tried that and that hasn't fucking worked.
Oh, goodness.
So just bring something back from the dead.
If you're not watching the video feed, hello, I'm Glenn. Kat's here tonight. And Jennifer is
taking the form of a 6'4" ginger man.
Yes, tonight with our buddy in the lower right square there, Pat King, friend of the pod, friend of both Kat and I for a long time, old film buddy. We're taking his pod card tonight. First time on the pod, and then Amy's here tonight.
Pod cherry.
Amy is back with us. We got 4 of us tonight. We're going to do our best to look at this thing from a 30,000-foot view and talk about how we feel about it. We'll try not to talk over each other as much as we possibly can.
And we're all drinking.
And we're all drinking, and not be.
We have to.
Not be super angry about it, even though we're super angry about where everything is at with this club. We're all really frustrated and searching for answers and can't really find them. But we're going to try our best to make some sense of it, much as we can, and think about what we're going to do next. That's going to be the order of the night.
You make it sound so civilized. I plan on starting to shout very soon.
I figured as much.
Yeah, we're just keep drinking, Pat. It's fine.
I was gonna do that.
I'm not even honestly tonight. I'm not even that concerned with and it sucks to be back at this point. By the way, of going through take by take and trying to analyze the play and the performance and the tactics and formation. If we had just tweaked this and that and get into the little minutia and specifics of why we didn't win, but we're kind of back to where
it's not that
feeling
simple.
like we were last summer, where it's what's the point in breaking that down because we got some bigger fundamental stuff going on.
Yeah, and it's not just it's not as simple as we had a bad week. This is just feeling far more complex. It's feeling fundamentally awful.
Yeah, the bad week started in 2020.
Yeah. And it feels like somehow the foundations of this team have just become rooted in evil, And I even brought up, I dare to say, I brought up a curse. I was like, have we stumbled into the realm of this team is fucking cursed? As soon as Joseph blew out his knee, the curse began and has never recovered.
I just want to point out, and I'm wearing the Ted Lasso shirt for a reason tonight.
I know.
The hope that kills you.
I'm just saying.
I hate. This is another Jurassic Park quote, but they're full of them tonight.
Hey, it's a theme, baby. Let's go.
I hate being right all the time.
Yeah.
It sucks. Being right is overrated. But when we were at the airport, Good Vibes FC,
I know
it
you
was wonderful.
bastard.
It was such a moment. And all I could think about was, boy, the hope here is tremendous for us to do incredible things. If for some reason it doesn't
What happens
work
if
out,
it goes wrong?
the fall this time will be harder than previous seasons.
Yeah.
And I think I'm being proven right on that. And it happened. Or it's happening.
Well,
Okay, so
Yeah.
I know that Pat is supposed to be playing the role of Jen tonight, but I'm gonna attempt to infuse just a little bit of that.
You're playing the role well with the drink, by the way. Well,
Yeah, you need a cat to walk through and a wine rack behind you.
There you go, and you'll be great. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Look, we still had an expected goals of almost 3.
Yes.
Okay.
And
It's true.
Ronnie's not wrong when he says essentially like, I would be more worried if I wasn't having chances. And that's
I
because
agree with him.
if you have the chances, that means that eventually, statistically speaking, right, if you're not in fact hexed or cursed,
It's a reasonable thing to
whatever,
say.
Okay.
the goals will go in, right?
Right.
Now, is it getting to a point where you start to feel like, wow, I don't really get it, like, oh, the XG is here, but we missed it. But like you go back and analyze it, and there were a lot of quality chances that were created. I don't know if we need something as simple as a finishing clinic. Like but there were moments in this game that I did still feel like hopeful, right? In the beginning. Yeah. As it dragged on, it became more and more frustrating. But for me, I'm sorry, like it was a lot of how the game was being called. That's why it became so pent up, frustrating, and angering for me.
Okay.
I know you didn't pick my headline, Glenn, that I sent you, of the one where we lost to the Revs because of the refs. But that's kind of a little bit how this felt at moments. Is it the only reason? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Is some of it that we seemingly still can't figure out where this jambalaya of players is supposed to fall together? Like, yeah, absolutely. Miggy and Latte are not on the same page. You can see multiple times where they're going the opposite direction. You can see on the play that is one of your takes, right? Where the crosses are going, and it's like, they're great ideas. All of the guys are having spectacular ideas that mean nothing when you're not having the same idea. So I'm optimistic because we are getting the chances. And so I just feel like that means that like we just need to get a little more on the same page. But at the same time, I understand why you guys are so upset and why it's so maddening, because when you watch it, it is maddening to watch these beautiful passes that go to literally nowhere.
So a year ago, Chelsea was having as many struggles as they're having now. No offense, Glenn. Sorry. But one of the things that you very poignantly pointed out was you said, wow, this is a team of incredible individual players. You've got, and he said, what was it? You know what $900 million buys you? 11th. And for us right now, you know what $40 million has bought us? 12th.
Yeah.
And Mike, that's kind of my concern is Glenn has been wondering this whole season, okay, we have similar situations to other teams in the league. New coach, new players, new this, new that, and they're having success where we're not. Well,
we'll be playing one of those teams next week. Ironically enough.
So is one of the problems that we've got a team, we've got 11 players out there. We don't have a team. We've got 11 individual players out there, and they are just not able to come together yet.
Pat, what do you think?
And it's like the yet is the problem. There can only be so many. How long are we going to wait? But then how long are we going to wait for what? What's the solution? How do you get, like you said, you need a team building exercise of some sort, like a shot clinic. Do they need to go all do fucking outward bound together and climb nets, to figure out how to get on the same page, to have the same idea? Because there's some good stuff happening. And I'll tell you what too, that worldie from Miggy that got called off, that was well worked. all the way around.
And
Everything
it was
that
gut
happened.
wrenching to have that happen.
Oh, it was
really takes the
unbelievable.
wind out of you,
Well, and
I
it
feel
did.
like.
And especially when it happened too. We never came back. We never came back from it. And you said you saw all these chances and you said you saw little bits and pieces of things that looked good. I didn't see pretty much anything after that. That took the wind out of our sail and we never got the wind back. I didn't see almost anything except for maybe the last like 4 minutes of like stoppage time where it was like we had a little stint of possession. I almost saw nothing to write home about after they took that goal back.
Pat, do you see anything to write home about or write anything?
I'm stepping into one of your takes here. But
Do it. Let's go.
Like, even some of the crosses into the box, just crosses into nowhere.
Yeah, listless, rudderless.
And it's like we were waiting to have a striker. It's like, didn't we just buy one? What? It's going like,
Let me
There
ask
was
you a
that one
question.
cross from Brooks to Latte that goes off the crossbar.
Let me ask you a question about
Yeah,
the
you're right.
striker, the aforementioned
We hit the
expensive
post
striker
twice.
that
You're right.
that you've mentioned. Do you think that part of this problem is that striker is not there because he's so involved in the build-up and he does a lot of defensive work and that's appreciated?
Yeah.
But Pat, do you are you seeing that of him being so concerned with creating the chance that he's not there when the chance is created then?
yeah, that's exactly it. He's doing too much when sometimes he just needs to be on the end of that cross.
And so why, that's the question here for all of us. Why is he doing too much? Why does he
feel the need to do that?
I think it's trust. It's gotta,
especially with the crew that we have that could easily take care of that without him.
I think it's
We
trust.
But the best soccer that we've played, we've all been agreed, I think, has been when Alexi has dropped deeper, which has taken some of the pressure, I think, off of Latte and some of the others in feeling like they needed to be back there because Alexi was able to connect the defense to the offense.
Right.
And I think that's why admittedly, I've been always sort of defending Alexi, right? But like, that's part of why I think I do, because when we looked best is when he's come deeper to try to connect things. And that's the one thing we didn't do this game. And I get why we don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of an interesting thing to me. I keep just mulling over, and I know that he talked a little bit about it on the presser, like why he pulled Saba out.
Yeah.
And I think
Did we get an answer
from the fan base? Yeah, it was a tactical decision. I mean, he wasn't injured.
He's trying to push the wingbacks up into more into wingers and back five, and the balls were coming over the top, and he wanted to nullify
because the Revs showed us a look that we weren't expecting, and I think that was talked about, on the broadcast that they had changed things up themselves, right?
Right.
But it was interesting to me in that moment, the tactical decision is to pull Saba versus Mickey. Now, because I don't know how to say it. It almost feels like he's trying to figure out which one of them is not on the same page with the others.
Right.
Process of elimination.
That was something going on there.
That's interesting. That's an interesting point. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's not a take, but something that the three of us talked about before the match even started was the formation, the starting formation, and the way that he had everybody lined up. We were wondering, why does he have Miggy not central?
Right.
Why he wants him to be on the left wing, and because they want Bartek to be at the 6 and they want Alexi higher up the field. Right. And there is going to be a point, and we're probably at it now, where you have to question, can you just keep doing that if the evidence is that your offense is more effective with Alexi deeper?
Well, and that's kind of what we're trying to get at is what was the point of that formation? What was the point of pulling Saba? You said it was tactical. Fine. Did you figure anything out from that? Did you learn anything? We'll see next match the way he lines everybody up next match. But what did we learn? Nothing fucking
there
worked.
Instead of Moyomba? Or is it Alexi? You know what I mean? Like, who's told?
Yeah, because I think Mayumba has been the shining star of the midfield this season. Why? How?
He's been great, and
he has. And by the time they subbed him, I think it was basically like they were just throwing all the offense.
Oh no, they was just throwing shit at the wall at that point. Yeah, no, I agree.
Tactics might not be the solution here. In the Discord of Atlanta United Fan TV, there's been a lot of good conversation. I encourage everybody to join the Discord. It's
There
really
hasn't been any Discord.
it's really not a bunch of people shouting into the void. It's really people trying to troubleshoot and share and be very respectful, and everybody hears their views and some good talk, really. And Michael from FanTV has this working theory that I wanted to share with everybody. And it is this, and I'm going to almost read it verbatim, so bear with me for a minute here.
Do it.
Working theory is that, and this is from the Discord last night, 9:17 p.m. Based on me seeing the team act very cliquey, example, coming off the bus in groups, being together in groups, from what Henry Higuita reported from Scarves and Spikes, who is more on the ground and in the pressers and in the mix and watching training than we are on this pod. 2, their exceptionally poor performances when they should be doing better by all estimates. 3, the comments Ronny said that he and Tyler Pilgrim also from Scarves and Spikes felt were odd about not blaming others. Basically, in Ronnie's presser, he said, well, what we can't start doing is blaming each other. Okay, so we're yelling at each other now. All right, and it seemed pretty evident as well. Henry noticed that players were really getting at each other, especially in the box after the, hey, you're not marking this person. I thought you were marking this. You're supposed to be here. That type of conversation happening, which you would expect when you're losing. The vibes aren't high. You're going to be angry. 4, that is 4. Henry's comments about the arguments. He could actually hear them. So, 5, hearing about a possible altercation, yelling at each other in the locker room after the post-match. Again, not unusual. It's, you're losing.
Yeah, when you lose, tempers flare, and you get frustrated.
Henry is saying that cliques are very bad for chemistry of a team, and believes that the cliquish culture that's formed in the locker room is a large part of why we can't get this otherwise good team playing well.
Right.
So maybe a road trip is exactly what we need at this moment.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
We don't have Labanda, from back in the good times, in the before times. We don't.
They all need a trip to Magic City.
Indeed.
Get some.
It could be that, but then I propose this counter to that. And it goes off of what Amy was saying earlier about, our XG was almost 3. We had good chances, hit the post, goals called back. Are we just a few inches and a few bad calls away from the feeling being totally different? Would it, because winning is a wonderful salve. If we had 3-6 more points, is it still cliquish? Like, is that still that underlying problem, even though maybe a little dormant?
It doesn't feel as apocalyptic
but
as
the problems are still there feels, as far as
but maybe.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we showed that we can come from behind, that 4-3, that was a great win. That I'm sure that was a great team building exercise for everyone. Winning is a great way to build chemistry.
Sure. Morale boost.
Yeah,
Sure.
But I don't know. Like I said, it's something about the way that they played last night feels fundamentally bad, and I do. If that's exactly what's going on, if that there's clicks, then that's exactly what it is. Is that we do not have a team. We have clicks of individual players, and nobody is gelling, and it's not the 11 is not the 11.
You know what's really unfortunate about that?
3 and 4 and 2
problem you're describing.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think the person that seemed to be most adept at solving that, we moved on from in lieu of Ronny.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate because I think
we talked about him being too soft.
I know who you're shouting out. I understand.
Yeah.
I get it. I love
it's a big what if.
Love him, but that was a totally different locker room. Those are totally different personalities. Look at who he didn't have Latte. He didn't have Iggy. He didn't have.
That's true.
And look at who he did have.
That's true.
Right.
Look at the big personalities in there.
Yes, but you're talking about a totally different vibe. We don't know if he would have managed this any differently.
That's true.
Okay, because where he came in, he was able to tap into this underdog, chip on your shoulder, angry, whatever, nobody likes me, kind of thing that,
Well, we're there.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're punching you in the face, like, let's keep in it.
Yeah.
And you can't start the season after having spent $50 million and bringing back in Miguel Almiron, and you're like, yeah, we're the underdogs, man. Like, get out there, FEA. Everybody be like, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to say that,
Okay.
like, that is, 100% where we went wrong. I'm not even sure that this is, like, coaching, except I didn't see that fan, the Discord. I'm gonna rejoin. That was a really interesting take. And what I thought was interesting about that is I hadn't thought about that when I made my comment about how I feel that Ronnie keeps making these changes almost to try to figure out which piece is it that is not
I
quite
really
right.
agree with you on that it does feel like he's trying to, that didn't work. Okay.
I feel like his Discord comment, the Discord comment kind of taps into that same vibe from, and so if that is the case, we are about to find out exactly how good a coach we have, because that's psychology. And if there's anything that we've seen differentiates a great coach from a good coach or even a bad coach, it's psychology. Look, what is the difference between Emma Hayes and Wilfred Nachi, right? What is the difference there? They are masterminds at psychology and tapping into that build of the team, at pushing the buttons at the right moment, at pulling the right triggers.
Yes, ma'am.
Watching that Columbus Crew game tonight, where they're now still, again, undefeated, on the road at St. Louis, they get rid of Cucho Hernandez, who is, everybody sells them down the river, says, nope, not going to be enough. I don't care if you still have Nagby or whatever. Where's your 9? You don't have a 9. What are you going to do? Nachi? No. Everybody is bought in to the psychology and the mentality and the swagger and the team.
Impossible
concept.
is an opinion.
Yes. It's the psychology. So if we're on to something, and that is somewhat what's going on, we're about to find out whether Ronnie
has the locker room or not.
Figure out whether it's Canadian geese or whatever it is that will inspire this team to, if he needs to bust out the Mighty Ducks, man, just go for something. Something
Pat, what do you think about coaching? And is this, am I crazy for thinking that maybe, you need to look at a Rob type, or where are you on it?
I mean, he's done it. I want to say with less.
It's a good point.
I feel like
done it at MLS, done it at Celtic.
I feel like we're about to learn a lot out of this road trip. If we want a lot more cohesion out of the team, I don't know, man.
I also
put them all in one room. Make them get along. I don't get it.
Are you willing? Is everybody else willing to, are we out of pull the plug on him point yet? No. Or when will you get there? Let's go around and do that, Pat. So
what's a breaking point?
We're 9 points right now out of 8 games. What does it for you? We have 2 road games coming up, Philly and Orlando. When are you kind of done?
April. It's April right now.
When are you done?
I'm definitely giving it discussion around the summer transfer window.
Okay.
Depending on
exactly where we were last year.
If we get rid of Alexi or keep him.
Okay.
A lot of things depending, but I'm definitely giving it a talk.
All right. Kat?
For sure.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, it sucks to be in the exact same place I feel like we were in last year. We were at the transfer window, or by that point, we were like, okay, this is it. It's now. It's going to happen now, or it's not. And it didn't. And the change was made. There were quite a few changes that got made, obviously during that time. And, that's when we were able to really see where the cracks were. We knew the cracks were there, but it was harder to understand, harder to see. I think that actually maybe this year we have a little bit of a better idea. Because we could see it. I think it's maybe a little bit more glaring even than it was last year. Maybe because last year was so bad, we're willing to look at it a little bit more I don't know, less optimistically because last year was so bad. I don't know.
Amy,
what do you
think?
What's your breaking point? Is there one for you with him?
I have one.
To be honest with you, like, I'm just not a person who leans towards like changing coaches with frequency. I think that you start to get a reputation as a club. You start to get a reputation as a fan base. You start to have questions. The elite players aren't going to come to a place that's perceived as being unstable.
Sure.
Or where you don't have like some consistency. And so for me, I also look at, I'm pretty sure that Dilo was with NYCFC 2 seasons, and I think it was his second season that he won. And I think that, I'm willing to give a guy who has proven credentials a year. Like, unless something just absolutely catastrophic happens to where it is undeniable, like, look, the problem is this, and it's him, and you can't do anything about it. I don't think that it serves the club well. I don't think it serves the fan base well to get into this, coaches or toilet paper thing. Right. And the other thing is that, like, okay, let's say you do that. Who are you bringing in at this time? Are you really going to go to Rob Valentino, who is not going to come back again unless you're handing him a multi-year contract and the full vote of everything, And I mean, look, maybe we were also truly hexed. I mean, Pochettino was in the house. Very Falcon.
Fucking Podge's fault.
We put a Falcon on the spike, we lose. We put an international team guy up there.
Bring in Emma Hayes.
That was the jinx.
Bring in Emma Hayes.
I would love to get the stats on our record when the U.S. women's national team people, because we've had a couple of them.
We've probably won, as long as it's not a Falcons player or something. I think
that's just that's anecdotal.
Yeah, I got you.
But but no, for me, I'm really not a Ronnie's in my hot seat right now. I think because of a combination of the history, and his his pedigree and what we've put in, and at this point, like,
I don't think we have enough to blame him for yet.
No, we don't.
Absolutely not. And you're gonna get rid of him before you get rid of him.
No, and I don't think that they will. I'm saying we don't. There's not enough yet. We gave Gonzo 2 seasons, and one was unbelievably injury ridden. So 2.5. So it's we can't even. I don't think that that's even part of the conversation. I think that some of his decisions can get questioned,
for sure,
especially when we're kind of trying to find ourselves. But Glenn, what would be your breaking point with him? Because I know how you feel about coaches.
Yeah, this one's tough because I think I really like what he has to say. In his post-game, pre-game comments, I think he's very real, very honest, and I agree with a lot of what he's said. It sounds logical, sounds fine. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you have to win. And if the ambition, I think our top 4 ambitions are already kind of toast, barring some miraculous turnaround like the Braves are going to have to do,
We have to be zombie Seattle.
Which I don't want to do, but I am going to throw an interesting stat after I say what my breaking point is, and I think it's going to shock a lot of people. You need something for these next 2 road games. If we lose both, I think you have to make a change now. Because we don't have time. We're a third over. I need a new coach to come in and have 2/3 to work with, not 1/3. And that breaks my heart because I like the guy, and it's complicated because he's won in multiple teams and multiple leagues. He's done it, and I think that's going to be a brutal thing for the players to absorb because, is it me? This guy has done it. What's going on? Why can't we do this? But here's the interesting stat I want to throw at you.
What you got?
He came to New York in 2020, COVID year. They won it in 2021. What was New York City's win percentage in 2021? They won MLS Cup.
Tell me.
Take a guess. Win percentage. And also number of average points per match then.
They probably needed to average at least 2. No, I would say they needed to average close to 1.7, like close to 2 points.
I was going to say
Yankee Stadium to these stats.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to say 2. I was going to say 2.
Swing.
2.
Win-
Okay.
win-
And about
win-
how about
miss.
a how about a
Swing was a
win
weird bet.
win percentage? Win percentage.
Man, I don't know enough about stats to even know if I'm in the ballpark.
I don't think I do
50%.
either.
I'm
Well,
thinking
what would you be
50%
happy
would
with
be
a win
17
percentage
out of
for us
34
this year?
games.
What are you looking for? What do you call a successful season? Above 50? Above 60? Above 70?
I think
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah, I was gonna say 65%. If I'm
Yeah,
throwing
that sounds
something
like a
out,
winner.
65%.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a winner. 41.
It's hard because in soccer you have to think about ties. right?
41%
41% they
lot
win.
of time.
Okay.
of their games. 1.5 points per game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they won the cup. My point here is 2021, if you go and look through their fixture list, there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of ugly losses. And then they got right.
I remember when they played us.
They beat us
Yeah.
1-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got right. And when it mattered. So that being said, y'all willing to wait to get right again when it matters? Can we put up
Well-
with this much pain?
I don't know. How do you gauge that? Because it's been bad since 2020. So
Yeah, I know.
we don't have a choice but to wait.
Yeah, I guess not. It's just
You
it was
know?
just interesting that in a year statistically this looks pretty bad that they won it.
Pat's just gonna keep loading up the
And they-
liquor while we're over here talking about how bad it's been
Don't
for
forget
5
their
6 years.
tiny little banner that they hung from. Remember that?
You should. Yes.
2021.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the size of
No, but I'm pissed off because I have to wait. I have to wait another day to go see our friends at Mason Mill because unfortunately they're not open on Mondays. So I have to wait until Tuesday. And you know what? I've had this pain in my ass since Saturday night. And I really need them to work it out.
afternoon
I
even.
think there's too much tissue. I don't think you can you adjust one's ass? Is
Hey,
that
the tissue
possible?
has only gotten more in the last couple of years, Glenn. I don't need you pointing that out.
Just don't know if it can be adjusted. But I
You
guess
know what?
they-
I'm going to adjust
I
your
guess
attitude,
they'll
sir.
take a crack at it.
Hey,
yay.
there's
Alrighty,
the
Mason.
fun.
I hope we're doing them justice here. I really do, because we actually really do love them and we go there all the time.
No, and they do phenomenal work, and that's the thing is that I would probably feel much better if they could take me and wrap me up like a towel and just put me out of my misery because
I think I'm gonna have to
Way to
get
go.
over to this practice.
You're gonna
and
have
see
to. I can tell
what
you
said
that
Mason
they're
Mill, 'cause
very easily accessible off McConnell Mill
Yeah.
Drive in Decatur, Georgia. You can call them too if you want. 404-321-0082 or on the web.
I live in Decatur. I
You
really
need
have
to
no
scoot over
excuse.
there.
you really don't.
MasonMillCairo.com. Go see Dr. Cohen and Dr. Miner that are there and the great staff. And also, if you're angry right now, like we all are, they have a very therapeutic Zen room that's just got like wind chimes playing and it's calm and serene and it's hidden behind a bookshelf. It's cool. Just go and relax for a little bit. Put all this aside and just cleanse your mind for a little bit while you're there getting adjusted. What other chiropractor offers
Yeah,
you all
it has-
this?
It has the feeling of what's that, Pat?
They have a rage room. Maybe we can go.
No,
It's a peace
No,
room.
it's the opposite.
Peace room.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's like a therapeutic speakeasy.
Right. Just depending on the road trip, we'll see.
God. We love them.
It's
Thank you
true.
guys, and thank you for going there and for checking them out. They're wonderful. Like I said, I don't really think we need to dive into takes tonight. I kind of wanted this to be more of a therapy session of everybody just talking about how they felt about it, where they think we go from here, and if we had
Well-
any potential solutions or pointing out, yeah, exactly this, and that's why. I don't think we really do.
Well,
but-
the thing that I brought up because I came walking in, from because I was watching it at work, and then I listened to the rest on the way home, and then I rewatched the second half, and when I came down and I started talking to my wife about it, she was just like, "What's the matter?" And I was just like, well, we talk about it all the time. We talk about that for us, it's our thing to get away from all of the other shit that is always going on. And this was a big thing last year, especially post-election. It was like, when things are going so badly, and you need.
I understand.
You need some joy. You need a pick me up.
I understand.
And it's one thing to lose, but to lose
so consistently,
as
so always,
often as we are, and in such a bad way, like it felt so rudderless. After Miggy's goal was pulled back, it just felt
wind out of the balloon.
It did, and I was, and then immediately went down to the other end, and Latte doing something he doesn't need to be doing. He didn't need to be anywhere near that guy with the ball.
Let me tell you how hilarious it is.
Anywhere with it, because if we're throwing takes out the window now we're in the bitch fest, and I'm gonna say, what the fuck were you even doing?
That's the hilarious point here.
Get the fuck out of there.
A penalty. We gave up.
Given away by our center forward
defender.
And there's other times where he's competing for the ball. I saw another time, it was in like I want to say like the 60th minute or something like that. And we've got the ball down on the near touchline if you're watching it on TV, and he's fighting hard with the heel to try and get the ball. I'm like, what are you even doing, man? You are like 60 yards out of position, because if somebody else is fighting heel for that ball and he wins the ball back, you need to be up front where you can receive that ball over the top. What the fuck are you even doing there? I love the tenacity. I love the fight that he's got, because Yorgos did a lot of that too.
Did.
He's a big, he was a big burly guy.
He would fight.
We liked it. He pulled a lot of yellow cards. But you know what, dude? That's not your fucking job. If somebody else can't pull it, let Ronny come down on them for not being able to defend. But you don't belong there.
I get that, but this guy is literally outperforming his XG, which is more than we've had out of.
That's true. That's also true.
Anybody.
I know, but think about how he could be doing even more.
This is all I'm going to say. Look, I get what you're saying. I'm as frustrated as you are that he's in that position and that happens. I'm also frustrated that they didn't call a blatant handball in the box.
That's true.
VAR,
they didn't even fucking look at it.
Let's expand on the officiating a bit more. Whatever. Go off on this a bit for us, if you will. It's not about what you were saying before we hit the record button on this, like one call here, one blown call there. It's more about the way the game was managed that had a tremendous impact on how the match flowed, and the way New England wanted to play it allowed them to do it to maximum effect.
Absolutely. So to start with, I feel like we were actually overcoming the shortcomings of the ref in the beginning of the match, up until the point they took the goal away from Miggy, right? Where it took all the wind out.
Which is arguable, too. And look, that's a judgment call.
Listen, that's the part that frustrated me about it. So in the moment, I was willing to suck it up and be like, okay, I get it. I can understand how that is a call. I can live with that. Let's bounce back, guys, right? But for a team that has been, well, there's such a fine line between things, right? When you're living on that edge and you are working as hard as this team has to work to try to generate in the way that they're supposed to, right? When you're on that offensive side and you're pressing over and over and over again, you finally get that reward, right? And for Miggy, think about it. That would have been the third game in a row with a goal. That gets him going. He's doing a goal celebration that we'll never know, but I imagine was some tribute to his kid. I mean, you don't go toddler style on the turf for no reason, unless you're doing some kind of shout out to your kid or something cute. You're doing this whole thing. Everybody in the stadium is losing their minds. And then you have to get that called back on something that is so nuanced, right? And
could have gone the other direction and given a different set of referees.
It's like, okay, fine. All right, I'll let that go. I understand. I'm not it. And even when we got the penalty, I was like, you know what? It is a penalty. It is a penalty.
It was a pen.
But what frustrated me was not those two calls, which are arguably correct. It is the overall management of the game, or lack thereof.
Okay.
Right? Because because it's not about being equal or even. Like you said, you were less mad last week because it was more consistent. Well, consistently bad, or you were more mad last week than you
I was more mad last week because I thought it was more obvious.
The thing is
that I thought it was worse.
Consistent isn't enough. It wasn't equitable. When you are the home team and you play the style of ball that we want to play with this one touch, two touch, fast paced movement, when you're getting fouled every 5 feet, and it's like, yeah, I got a whistle. Well, what good is that to me? Because now you are just letting the team reset, and I don't get my 1 touch, 2 touch. So now I got to give the ball back to them, or I've got to work myself into a hole, trying to recover what it is that you are taking away from me.
Yep.
And then it wasn't even just that. He would then suddenly out of nowhere decide, oh, I'm going to call the whistle when advantage would be better.
Yeah.
It was like just every possible way that you could interrupt the flow of the match in a way that is detrimental to a home team that's trying to build crowd momentum, that's trying to build flow.
It worked right into the ref's hands. Yeah, totally.
Or when what's his name? Who was the New York player that went down in our defensive third, and New York continued to play on, which they can. It's their own guy. They played on, and then nothing came of it. They had an attack, but nothing came of it. Then we get the ball. We try to counter. Then he goes down, and then the ref blows the whistle. No. If he was really hurt and New York was concerned, play it out.
They should have stopped.
You don't get games, and you let them play those types of games many, many times, and it did have a big impact on how the match played out.
And the thing is like the psychology of the team when you are already struggling, when you are trying to build chemistry. And look, no amount of practice makes up for in-game experience and pace. 100%. And they cannot get their in-game flow going because for at least the third match in a row, they have had all of that interrupted by terrible officiating. And I'm not a person that wants to sit here and complain about the referees, but I watch enough women's soccer to know that this is not how this has to go. Okay. No offense.
It's true.
But even my son, I asked him, what do you like better? And he's like, I like women's soccer actually, because it flows a bit better.
Right. Yeah.
Well, why is that? Because they're not throwing themselves on the ground like babies every 35 seconds. I'm sorry, no offense, man.
No, it's been that way with the women's side 30 years.
It's observably true.
It's been that way for 30 years.
Why my dad only watches Caitlin Clark.
So
straight up, never even went to my games.
Well, my problem with this particular match and this particular ref is that you had this combination. It was like this dumbfounding combination of you are making terrible call after terrible call after terrible call that is seemingly only impacting us because, let's face it, New England loves it. They don't care if they get a whistle as long as they don't have yellows and they don't have to worry about making these additional fouls and everything. Sure, blow your whistle every 35 seconds. I'm just here to maybe get lucky, and you already gave me a penalty. So what do I got to do? I don't have to do anything but run out the clock. The rest of the game.
Crux of it.
It's almost like the refs and the Revs had the exact same game plan going into it because all New England had to do, like you said, and I'm starting to kind of understand. I'm definitely understanding your position on this far more than I was when we started, which is that all they had to do was disrupt our game plan. They didn't have to have one except that. And like you said, maybe they'd get lucky. And that's exactly what happened. And because it kind of felt like the refs were playing into the exact same game plan.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, we're going to take this left and right.
I said I
would No, I hear you. The problem that I had with last week's match was that it didn't feel even. And like you said, there's a difference between even and equitable. And I get that. That was a home match too. So I don't understand why, and it's a different set of referees. Yeah. So Jennifer and I are always on the same page when it comes to this, which is that, and Glenn too, we never want, referees should never impact the game this much. They should never have this much influence on the actual turnout of the match. The two calls that they made that were actually legitimate probably had the most impact on the game when it came to the actual final score, but not for the way the rest of the game.
Correct.
And I completely hear you. And I don't disagree with that. They called stuff on them. And they called stuff on us. I do think they still waited way too long to pull cards out of the pocket. Way too long.
Yeah, persistent.
I don't know. And
it
was the same thing last week. Now, if Miggy's goal had stood, then it's a 1-1 draw with shitty refs again. It's the same thing. So it's, I don't know if they're being instructed to try and keep the cards in the pocket, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to change anything.
Tariffs, man.
Yeah, the fucking tariffs.
How much league games are you watching though in the rest of the league? Like, serious question. Because
I watch the ones that I can. It's a matter of time. I watched the Miami match, and I'll tell you what, there was hardly any stoppage in play.
What about Columbus St. Louis tonight? There didn't appear.
I haven't been able
from
to
what
watch
I
it,
saw.
obviously. I had to do the parenting thing.
It looked okay.
Just saying.
From officiating.
The officiating when in Columbus was, I had no issues with
Top
the way
notch.
that game was officiated whatsoever. Yep. And look, it is easier to watch games when you're neutral.
For sure.
Right? Like,
there's some bias.
Totally recognize
Let's admit that. Yeah. For sure.
But I feel like as a whole, I have seen less of the chicanery that I feel like I've seen in some of our matches in other games around the league. By which I mean, it almost feels like, and I'm probably reaching really far here, guys, but it almost feels like when the refs get in the bins, it's a big stage for them too. And so all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, the guy that was like basically just, I mean, you know, kissing Messi, you know, on the field, you know, that's the first
oh my
ref,
God,
right?
I hate that fucking guy.
Just wrap the guy in bubble wrap or whatever, and like he did everything but hand Messi a latte and ask him, you know, if he could fluff his pillow.
Yeah, please, sir.
It's mate. He would prefer mate. Let's be clear. It's Messi.
Mate.
Argentina.
Okay, I apologize. And then, and then the Dallas game that we all watched, that we were lucky to come out of, you know, with a draw from the ridiculousness of the officiating. And then you turn to this game and you have that call, and it's so nuanced. And this is the other part I didn't get to on the refs. It wasn't just that the center ref was bad, and he was terrible.
No, Tori Penso was bad too.
The combination.
Tori Penso was
and the
awful.
fourth official, right?
And she's FIFA. She's going to World Cup. Like, she's very experienced. That's disappointing.
It was very disappointing because I usually like respect Tori Penso, and that was not her finest moment. But also the VAR, in my opinion, was very biased. To be told that they didn't even check that possible handball in the box that I think absolutely looked like a handball in the box on that ridiculous save that Ivicic makes.
At least
and I mean,
at least take a look.
But you're not even going to do a check. So
right.
you check the nuanced, you know, maybe this is a call, maybe this isn't thing that nobody and their brother was looking for. You're like, oh, I am, you know, they talked about how the VAR was more experienced than the center ref. I'm going to make you bring that back, son, you know, because I'm trying to show you how this game should be really officiated. And then you don't even bother to check in a 1-0 match a possible handball in the box.
Okay, so yes. But one thing I want to kind of reel this kind of back around to is that we have to fucking play better and take the refs out of the fucking equation.
That's also true.
And finish. We have to finish.
Yes, we have to play better. That's included in playing better. That's included in playing better. Everything has to be better. The crosses have to be better. The finishing has to be better. The fucking defending has to be better. The formations have to be better. Everything has to be better. Don't leave it up to them. Yeah. And I'm sorry. I came on here and I said I was going to be a bitch fest because I really, we can say what we want about the refs. We can say what we want about coaching. But at the end of the day, the players are the ones there that are out there either executing or not. Yeah. So go out and play better. Make fucking friends and play better.
I feel bad for
that road trip's going to be amazing.
He had an absolutely
spectacular
game again and cannot get a clean sheet to save his life.
No, and it's not on him. He's the only one that can't move.
Again.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get his clean sheet reward, and it's really frustrating for me for Brad. But I will say that overall, though, I thought defensively we actually didn't have we left heel a little open.
In the first half, he had full reign. He had full reign of the whole fucking field in the first half. In the second half, it was better. Somebody made a mistake.
Because we changed our formation. That's the tactical change that I'm talking about. That I do think was not. I don't know that I can.
It was a little wild, but it worked. I guess. Yeah.
either.
It was wild. You know,
Going back to the Ronnie thing though, like Glenn, seriously, or you know, Pat, like Kat, I don't know that I disagree with Ronnie's tactical change though. I get that you maybe you should have pulled Miggy instead of Saba. Maybe that would have been different, or maybe you should have like done something to pull, you know, to pull Moranchuk back. But the sub of Cobb and the change in that formation was the right decision. So if you're gonna
we don't have
fire your
anything to
coach,
back
well, he's
that up
making
though
the right
because we
decision.
didn't.
Like if the coach is making the right tactical changes and the play, like
We don't
I'm
really
just
know
saying,
that
goes
that's
back to
true.
why I don't want.
I think we do.
We don't really know that that's 100% true. They didn't get another goal on
Yes,
us,
but the
we
chances
didn't
were
score
there, the
either. We didn't
finishing.
win the match.
Cobb's-
I know, but nothing came of it
because we didn't finish.
It's
but
for
that's
not.
all the coach can do. The coach can't finish. He can set up the tactical changes to create the opportunities to finish, which he did.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it oddly kind of was because it achieved that goal. We didn't finish it. You know what I mean? Like that's all the coach can do.
Yeah.
Is give you that, but then it's on the players to finish, and we didn't.
I know.
So
right, and we didn't. So you can't say for sure if it was a successful tactical change or
I just
not.
disagree.
The chances came, but
because
we didn't finish them.
What else can the coach do?
You're trying to say that the means justified the ends, but that didn't happen
because we didn't finish the
end
chance.
result.
We hit the post.
That's all I'm saying. But, so you can't say for sure that it worked because they didn't score. Nothing.
No. You're missing the point. The point is that
I'm not missing the point. I'm saying. It was a tactically good change, but nothing came of it.
Right, because the
coach can't
put the ball in the net. That he did what
you can lead a horse to water.
Correct.
Yeah,
Pat, right? Go.
So I feel like he put the harness on and he kicked the donkey in the ass and he led him right to the water. And our guys, for whatever reason,
let's let Pat get a word in here edgewise. He's been.
Sorry, my.
I feel like it's more so frustrating just because we could have seen what Saba would have done in the second half. And
that's what I mean. We don't necessarily know it was the wrong horse.
That's where my beef is. It's not necessarily.
That's all I meant.
I concede that. Yeah. I just meant the shift of changing out the offensive player for Bob and making the tactical shift in the.
There was a tactical.
I understand what you're saying about the players specifically that they chose.
For sure.
Yeah. Fair point.
Yeah. That's I guess that's really what I'm saying.
It's not the plus the other guys, it's the minus the Saba that is the
Gotcha. And remember 5 minutes ago I just said it's on the fucking players to execute the plan that is given by the coach. I don't disagree with that. We just don't know. We don't have the end result to say, see, this tactical change was good. We don't have that because we can't prove that it was and we can't prove that it wasn't because there's nothing to show for it. So you can't really just say, "Oh, this worked." Well, no, it didn't.
The XG, I think
necessarily,
it's just that
but it also
XG
didn't
was
work.
there. So like,
sure,
I don't know if Saba would have. If the XG
this is how many we got out of it. This is how many we got out of both formations.
But if the XG wasn't there with the previous formation. And it was there when it changed.
XG.
Well, XG matters.
That's how much we ended up with.
Yeah, I know,
0.
but like
both ways didn't work.
Well, one way was working. We had more chances in the second half than we did in the first.
We created more opportunities.
Correct.
And the creation of the opportunities themselves shows that it was more successful. I think the question is, would it have been equally as successful or maybe even
and that's
more?
And that's what I mean. We
we'll
can never know.
Right?
We can never know.
But that's what'll be interesting to see. I'm very interested to see what we come out with in the next match because I'm just really curious what Ronnie's takeaway ultimately is out of the mixes and matching that he's been doing.
Feel like we've said that a lot at the end of each.
We have.
Yeah. And maybe I'm just gonna say this from now until the end of the season, and then I'll be but but I've already laid my stake that I don't think he's going anywhere for a year.
All right. Final thoughts here, Pat. You got anything about coach or tactic shifts and XG or wish we had some G's or anything? WG wished G's.
Gee whiz.
Gee whiz.
I really wish, like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this upcoming road trip. I feel like we're going to learn a lot. I just feel like I don't know what kind of kumbaya shit we got to pull together to come together as a team and gel. But whatever we're doing is not working. Again, the more that I'm hearing about this clicking up of players and shit, it's starting to sound very mean girlish. So, I don't know if we need to start off with the bus with, like, my name's Alexi. I play midfield. Fine, until everybody gets to know everybody.
I love it.
We will keep you here as long as we can keep them till 4. We will keep you until 4.
Make goals happen.
Mm.
I don't care how they go in. I don't care if they're all Saba own goals. Sabotage goals.
Yeah, it's a true sabotage. Amy, anything else?
This is going to be a really weird thing to kind of end on, but you've made me thoughtful on something that I'm going to say. I wonder if we are convinced that part of this is chemistry and clickiness and whatnot, who's probably the second most responsible person for that outside of the coach?
Captain?
And
The
I
captain.
think that's the captain. And so I'm interested to see what Goose does with this and whether or not he can figure out a way to get, his message resonating. Because if that is part of what's going on, then
it's fair.
If somebody you ask who's going to kumbaya, I think that has to fall to Goose.
Yeah, to the captain.
And,
Cat?
Yeah.
Is this another situation, and I know that we mentioned this a few years ago when we had people like Larry out in the midfield, is this another situation where we need a captain that is an actual infield player and not just in the I know, look, I'll tell you one thing. I didn't realize how loud he is until actually the game that I carried the spike, because I was right behind him.
Oh, he's loud.
I'm not usually, I'm usually several rows back and and off to the side, and being right there behind him, he's very, you can hear him. So I will take back some of the things I've said before about how could he possibly be the director of personnel from way back there. Back in the day when Miggy was there, do we see Miggy as a captain? Do we see Miggy as being a sort of Nagby-esque director in the midfield? Because I see him there maybe eventually. I really thought with him coming back in that we would be building the team around him as opposed to figuring out how to mold him in. I really thought he was going to come in and be the pseudo leader of this team in the field. And I don't really think I've seen that yet. And it's interesting because he went to the Hawks match with Ronald Hernandez. And that's somewhat telling that they just met each other, right?
No,
Ronnie
was
had they known each other for a long time?
Tiny overlap, I think, with Miggy, or at
but
least
not a long time.
Not much. He may not have overlapped, but they ran in the same,
Okay, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything.
Venezuelan national team with Joseph, and so they
I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying.
No, what I actually think you're tapping
they're pals.
into
It's interesting.
We have a much more multicultural team, though.
No, Ronnie was not here. Ronnie was not here.
He wasn't here.
No, I knew that.
Like, not by a couple years here. 2021.
Yeah. No, I know. That's what I'm saying is that. So no. It's interesting. I mean, she said it.
But no.
We're a multicultural team. Is there a language barrier? Is there a cultural barrier there?
Well, then there's several barriers potentially.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're just not gelling.
Than we've ever been. I don't know that you can. I don't know that we can really judge it from the outside because we don't know those dynamics.
Of course.
But my point is just that I don't think that where you are positionally on the field makes a hill of beans difference on whether or not you can be a good captain. And that may be me being biased since I played keeper and captain and also played field and was a captain.
Sure.
It didn't matter where I was just going to make myself heard. Yeah. And I perceive Goose that way, right? Sure. And most captains that are keepers are that way because you have to be that assertive.
And he's the older guy too. He's the veteran.
Isn't just on the field; it is off the field stuff.
Absolutely.
And that is the one place where I am willing to look, if in examining all of this, one of the things you have to do to get right is you have to find somebody who is going to take that mantle from Goose to get whatever that chemistry is right. Great. But that person's got to assert themselves.
Yeah.
You know, Dax McCarty didn't have to wear the captain's band to flaunt his influence at the end, because a captain is a captain. That's the thing, is that we talk about Larry, but Larry wasn't always captain. Parkhurst was, but Larry was still a captain on the field.
Correct.
While Parkey was captain.
Sure.
Right? Because a captain is a presence.
Yeah.
And maybe what we need to figure out is who is that other presence, and maybe there are some guys that are competing for that. You know, at the moment,
somebody or something has to pull them together. And it just doesn't sound like that has happened yet, especially now that we're getting some outside influence. So I want to see glitter on all those guys' faces next week, because they all went out to a strip club together and got some lemon pepper wet and figured out why they should all be
Jennifer
friends.
will be very happy that you mentioned glitter at the end of this pod.
You've had a couple of days in between the game, though. We
don't. Hey, I can vouch for the fact that after the day I carried the spike, it took at least 6 or 7 days for me to get the rest of the gold glitter out of my hair.
Oh, yeah. I just meant for hangover purposes.
Yeah.
I'll end my final thoughts with, just because you guys have said everything at nauseam. I agree with all of it. You know, it's all good points. I've got one quote, and it's from a Twitter follower, Airborne DJ on X, posted this last night. This team has no chemistry. They couldn't make water with hydrogen and oxygen.
Oof. Chemical reaction.
Brutal reality. It's where we're at. Look, great on paper, worse on the pitch. Vancouver scored 5 goals. 5.
Yeah, that looked pretty good.
And there are other teams out there doing more with less. We have every advantage we could want at this club. Yeah. World-class facilities, stadium fans, training, analytics. Coach, I think, is quality. Can't deny it. Front office, Hendo, players. We've done it all, and it's still,
we're running out of things to blame.
It's still not working.
Do we have too many kings and not enough workers?
No, I don't even think that's it. We're running out of things to blame.
Yeah. Running out of time too. All right. I think that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for listening, especially in these when times are tough, which is all the time. And it's difficult, but
no, it is. We wake up at a 5. It's sometimes we get to a 10, sometimes, and it comes in spurts.
Yeah. It's tough.
Sometimes we wake up at a
It's
3.
tough. It's tough when you care this much about something, you love something, and it's not doing it, and you turn to that something in tough times, and it's not doing what it's meant to be doing. It's really difficult, but I'm grateful that we can still get together and hash it out and talk about it. I'm grateful for people still wanting to listen and interact, because it's hard to do that when the times are tough, when it's not good, Numbers drop. We've definitely seen our numbers drop when the team isn't doing well for views and listens. So if you are listening,
and we
watching,
can't blame you.
Nope, I get it.
Not blaming anyone.
I totally get it.
Yeah, we're not listen shaming.
No,
not listen shaming out there. We get it. You don't want to listen to us about it. We really
appreciate it. We really appreciate everybody.
What was that, Pat?
So this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
Anyway, ratings boost.
we're expecting the Pat King bump tonight. Yeah. But we appreciate everybody supporting us, and for supporting all the other pods out there too, and all the different media, and Doug Roberson and everything, especially when the team's not doing well. If they're not going to come together, then we need to, at least, and still keep coming together and supporting each other in what we do. And the team is what the team is, and we can only hope that it'll get better, and we can get to what we want to be, because the more years that we spend down in the dumps, it makes it seem like 17 to 19 was the fluke, and this is who we are. And I don't want to believe that, but it's getting harder and harder to not believe.
Chills in a very bad way.
It's not good. It's not good.
Like
but we ain't going anywhere. We're going to continue to be here. I don't care if we lose the rest of the season. We're still going to be here.
Hey guys. It could be worse.
What's that?
We could be the New York Red Bulls. They've never won it at all.
Yeah. At some
And
point,
they've been in
the
league
distant
a lot
the distant
more
light
years
of
than us. I understand.
The
You
original
have
dis-
to
and I,
take your knocks where you
I
can
got
get
you.
them.
I know.
hear you.
No, you're
I
right.
hear you. I hear you.
Now, so we have Philadelphia next week, which is going to make Jennifer just so happy. And we have Philadelphia at Philadelphia, which is just going to make her so much happier.
And then Orlando at Orlando.
And then Orlando at Orlando. So we don't have a fun road coming.
They're good teams.
Fucking hell. I don't know.
Maybe we could be optimistic and say, hey, we need a kumbaya road trip, right?
Hey, it might.
Sometimes getting kicked in the teeth by people you hate is a good
Look, this is
way
why
to
we love
build
this game, is
some
that
camaraderie,
things can
right?
happen,
Like-
and if stuff happens over
so.
these next 2 weeks, we're a completely different pod in 2 weeks. Completely different. And it is possible, and we just hope that
if we
will
somehow
happen.
get 6 points from 6 in those
It's
two
totally
matches,
different. Everything's different.
we are singing a very different tune. We're playing Lizzo's flute in a very different
But
way.
either way, we
So-
will be back here to sing that tune.
Yes.
And hopefully it's positive. Also,
That's right.
before that, coming up here on April 21st, which isn't this Monday. If you're listening to this, it's today. It's April 14th. 1 week from now, Monday, we will be talking with Gareth O'Sullivan and Joel Gold, owner and general manager from Decatur FC. They're going to come on the pod and talk about the upcoming start of the season, the formation of the club, and any questions you have. So we've gotten a few already, but if you have any questions for either of these gentlemen that you would like to know about the club, their background, their history, how they came to be involved, how to start a women's team of your own to alleviate the pain of Atlanta United, just go out and start your own club and start winning things, they would be the guys to ask. So please send us those questions. You can email them, 5takesonthefivestripes@gmail.com, or just comment on any of our various social platforms and we'll collect them there. And we'll try and get a few questions
And we'll
in.
take any questions too. You know, there's already a good line of silly questions going in because we want to make sure that everybody remembers that these are people and they've done something that they're really proud of. But these are people, and you know what? They all have their favorite milkshake, and we have to make sure that question gets answered too. So let us know if you want to know if pineapple goes on pizza. We're gonna ask that question. We are coming down to the hard questions here, people. They will get asked. Let us know what you got.
Please send them in, and then on May 19th, we'll be back with part 2 of that pod with Coach Chapman and a few players as well. And we'll do some questions for that one when it comes. I think that about does it. Am I forgetting anything else? No, I think that's it.
No.
All right, y'all. Thank you very much for listening. Like I said, we really appreciate it, especially in the hard times, that everyone still bands together and supports each other. It does mean a lot. We will be back here in a week's time to talk about the same thing or a complete turnaround. I don't think there's any middle ground here.
Yeah.
All right. Until then, y'all be good. We will be back.
This is my grumpy cat.
You have to make some sort of grumpy cat noise. The audio listeners.
That was a grumpy.
I don't know. Does it work?
It's a dying cat.
I'm dying inside, man. I have very, very little left.